Good morning. Well, another walk in the woods. As I say, another great day in the kingdom. So, as I'm walking along my trails today, it's kind of the word that popped up for me is civility, or probably more the lack of civility. But the topic is civility. Where do we learn how to be civil? We certainly remember it very, very early. It's how we have good social discourse with other people, how we can have conversations that have good outcomes for both people. My grandmother was kind of a southern matron. She grew up in Memphis, went north to teach at a girls' school in Minnesota, and married my grandfather there, who was just getting out of seminary. But I do remember as a young boy walking along the streets of, I'm pretty sure it was St. Paul, and I remember her saying to me, David, remember, a gentleman always walks between the street and the woman he is walking with. And of course, it kind of sounds strange, but that the gentleman is there to shield the young woman from perhaps some splashing from rain in the gutter or something. And that always stuck in my mind. It's kind of like, that's. And I'm sure that many other things must have stuck in my mind that I heard from her. But civility, I think, is an important social characteristic. And that is, we don't really believe in the statement, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me, is the fact that words do hurt. And it's how we go about, having a decent discussion, and maybe a discussion in which we might disagree with one another. And what do we do? What do we do in those situations? Do we take the ideas and say, let's take these ideas apart, or do we attack the other person? Do we have what's called an ad hominem attack, which seems to be a characteristic today. And certainly we've seen it in political campaigns. Everybody, vows they're not going to use negative advertising, but boy, a week before the election, watch out, because here comes the bad stuff. And the problem is, they wouldn't do it if it didn't work. So I think civility is the proper, custody of the tongue, of the things we say. But of course, it's also what we do as well. So it's not just what we say; it's what we do. We can act in uncivil ways without even saying a word. I remember an old saying from Mark Twain said, all letters deserve to be written, but few mailed, few sent. And how true that is. I remember Sabina telling me when she was a captain in charge of the patrol function that she would specifically come to work early so she could catch the men and women who worked the night shift, because she always gave them this sort of rule. Is that I don't want to come to work in the morning and find you've written a bunch of negative emails about what's going on in the department or your colleagues. I'll be there before you get off work. If you have something to say, come in and talk to me. And certainly, wise advice. Wise advice. So the words we use in talking to one another is very, very important. Are they words that are, laced with anger, personal attacks? Because I think we can have a disagreement in what we believe and still, not resort to some kind of a trump card to say, yeah, but, what about you? What kind of a person are you? Well, let's stick with the ideas. Stick with the ideas. And I think if we did that, we would be a much better society. And the danger of social media is that, it's only a couple of finger strokes away. It's the problem of the snarky response. And it seems like there's a lot of anger out there. It certainly is behind those snarky responses. But, maybe our response is, well, I didn't think this had to do with me. Perhaps let's talk about this idea. So if I have this idea that's troubling you, let's talk about why the idea is bad or wrong, or you have other ideas. But let's refrain from attacking each other personally. It just isn't decent. It just isn't civil. And it certainly is not going to help us to learn how to live together. And of course, part of this civility has to do with speech in the workplace, speech in the neighborhood, speech in the family, about race and about gender. All that's very, very important. Because the things we say at home are the things our children are going to hear, and they're going to pick up these things. Remember that old South Pacific song for the young Asian woman who fell in love with the GI, and I believe it was her mother that sang that very, very powerful song, "You've got to be taught to hate." You've got to be taught. Just don't think it comes naturally. All right, so that's my take on civility today. Hope it was helpful. I hope we can all sort of decide collectively that there's a better way for us to live together, even though we disagree on a lot of issues, and certainly there's a lot of contention today. But maybe each one of us would answer that very important question, okay, well, how now shall we live together? Have a great day. God bless you.